What is up, Toasters, and welcome to the Toasty Podcast. I'm glad you're here because today we're going over why we think John F. Kennedy's assassination was planned by the U.S. government. If you want more of this toasty content, please be sure to tap the subscribe button and also hit that notification bell as well so you'll never miss a single slice of toasty content. Enjoy.
Okay.
What's up, Toasters? My name is Sky.
And I'm Maddie B.
This is the Toasty Podcast, where we have casual conversation over controversial topics, and today is a deep dive. We're going into the life and tragedy of John F. Kennedy, so let's get toasty.
Let's do it.
Before we begin, I want to let all our listeners know that we will now be streaming our podcast live on Twitch. For those that would like to follow along and comment on anything we're talking about, get the app and search for the Toasty Podcast. Obviously, this episode's not live on Twitch because you would have already seen it. I'm preparing you guys for next time. And also, we're on TikTok. Follow us, the Toasty Podcast. I might go live there as well.
Sweet.
We're doing everything we can to get our name out there, and that is the point. So, John F. Kennedy, huh?
Yeah. Whew. It's a load. I mean, geez. Like, where do you even begin, right?
Yeah, and I think everyone likes to just be very, they like to pinpoint the assassination, obviously, and I think that people that are even our age right now and probably younger, that's all they know about it.
Yeah, for
Most
sure.
likely. That's all they really know is the assassination part of it.
Yeah,
You know?
unfortunately.
They don't know his life. They don't know he's, super unhealthy. They don't know any of that crap. Or it seemed like he was
He
super
was
unhealthy.
super unhealtly from, birth.
You know? It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Because of the diseases or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
Addison's
yeah,
disease
so the
and-
assassination. Is there, you have...
So, I have a basic theory on the assassination. Real basic.
Okay.
Uh,
Let's get right into the theories.
because, I've dug into it in the past, and I keep digging into it, and I keep looking at this and that, different confessions, and then debunking those confessions, and it's hard to believe anything anymore, obviously.
Well, we're dealing with that right now.
Since 2016,
Yeah.
there's so much different information with everybody's got their own agenda, even on the past. So I've done my best to just really come up with a theory and an opinion that I think this is what it is. So I think, long story short, that the CIA and certain members of the intelligence community, the NSA at the time, CIA, and organized crime, from the Chicago crime family to the New York crime family, and possibly Cuban revolutionaries like Fidel Castro, all were involved in the Kennedy assassination. It was that large of a conspiracy, and I think what happened was they literally set up the perfect patsy, the perfect lone wolf, the guy who's dejected, who wants to be a Russian, who is going to fall for these high level espionage tricks, essentially. So they found that in Lee Harvey Oswald. He's a guy who wanted to be somebody. He attempted to assassinate a general and failed.
Yeah, wasn't that in Mexico?
No, that was in the U.S.
Oh.
Let me see. I've got it in my notes here. Let me find that, because that's an interesting tidbit about Lee Harvey Oswald. So, he attempted to assassinate General Edwin Walker, and Marina Oswald. My handwriting's terrible. Testified against her husband and said that Lee considered Walker a fascist.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Okay.
he considered him a fascist,
Even
capitalist.
his own wife?
Yeah, his wife testified against him. Yeah, they
What
had.
kind of guy do you
So
have to be to...
apparently, the FBI had been keeping tabs on Lee Harvey Oswald for months before the
Right.
Kennedy
I saw that because I saw a month or so before he was in Mexico City or Mexico somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And like apparently a lot of, since the Cold War was happening or had happened or whatever it was going to happen,
Yeah, it was in the middle, the height of the Cold
Soviets
War.
and stuff like that would hang out there too. Apparently, I don't know. That's what I was reading. Is that
Yeah,
true? I mean, and
that's-
then you'd go down there because it was like a safe haven almost.
Yeah, so that was
because we would all meet down there.
There was a document dump. Let me get to that page real quick. On document dump in 2017 of JFK files.
This is what a document dump is. What, like released classified files?
Yes.
Okay.
So the CIA has a treasure trove of information on
Sure.
JFK. There is 500 never before seen CIA files. This is according to the Washington Post. Ian Shapira and Michael Miller, November 4th, 2017. National Archives posted another 676 records related to JFK's assassination Friday afternoon, including more than 500 never before seen CIA files that contained information about Lee Harvey Oswald and operatives turned Watergate burglars James McCord and E. Howard Hunt.
How do you get that information?
What do you mean?
Like when the CIA dumps stuff, who knows? Is it an average person that can go look?
Yeah, absolutely.
What is it? CIA.gov?
Yeah, literally.
Okay. Wow.
And then you'll
Front
click on the
page,
link.
frontline
It'll
news.
be like the most
New articles
boring.
out.
Like they'll make it boring and they'll
Oh, for
release
sure.
it slowly. So that wasn't even all of it. I think that was roughly. I think that was like maybe a seventh of the. This is a weird fraction, right? Like that was probably like a seventh of all the files that the CIA had, and Trump tried to get all of them released, and the CIA was like, no.
Really?
Yeah, and he was like, okay, well, if you're going to be relentless about it, I'm going to trust your recommendation. Which he shouldn't have done, obviously, because the intelligence community, they're all liars.
Yeah, but he wanted to save face, I guess.
Yeah, he needs their approval.
He has to have
They're
it, right?
insanely powerful.
Yeah, because they're gonna assassinate him.
Yeah, right.
They're gonna freaking do this whole
So I
thing.
think the CIA was definitely involved, and they can't admit guilt yet because they still have they're still just elbow deep in the cookie jar.
It's crazy,
So,
man. Well, so let's get back to how it came to this, basically. How did it come to this? How is he the only president that's been like, well, he's not the only president that's been assassinated, but he's like
Most recent.
the most recent and the main one,
Well, Abraham Lincoln.
isn't he? Well, I know, but wasn't that like an obvious, like, oh, we know who it is? Or do you think that was also a setup?
No, that was definitely like super obvious. Tons of witnesses.
That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I'm talking about one that is so
All the other ones,
skeptical.
too.
Everyone's so skeptical of. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. There's
This
so
is that
much.
one.
There's so much plausible deniability, reasonable doubt.
Yeah, obviously everyone talks about the ballistics and how the bullet do that, and you can't do that. There's no way you can shoot like that, and blah blah blah, whatever. And then Harvey Oswald, apparently he was a crappy shot, But let's get into it about the history of JFK,
So,
and we'll make our way over there.
As a president, let me get to it. So there it is. As a president, so honestly, his political career begins with his dad earning a boatload of money in bootlegging during Prohibition.
Yeah, he had the trust because of that crap.
Oh, yeah.
JFK had a trust from all this money.
Huge amount of money that he made from that, and so John Kennedy has a older brother named Jack Kennedy, I believe. And here, let me hold on. I've got it right here. So yeah, he had an older brother who died in World War II. Was a bomber, and yes, Joseph Jr. was his older, Joe Kennedy.
Okay.
So Joe Kennedy Sr. was the bootlegger. Joe Kennedy Jr. was involved in bomber raids for the Allies in World War II. And went on like 52 or 58 bombing missions, and on his last one he was shot down and killed. But Joe Kennedy Sr. was hoping that he would become the politician, and I mean he was well polished, good looking guy, obviously like all the Kennedys, and was ready to take on the world, but he was obviously killed, and Jack Kennedy, JFK, was like always sick, really young, sickness, like probably had Crohn's disease early on before it was diagnosable, or before it was really in medical journals, and really just like struggled. And so then Joe Kennedy Sr. never really thought he was going to amount to a whole lot. Thought he was going to be more of an academic or someone involved in the press,
Right.
Journalist, let's say, which actually JFK was. So for a couple of years he practiced journalism. He wrote a book called oh gosh, so unprepared. Let's see. He wrote a book.
Well, what was the book about? Like, you don't even have to really.
Yeah, it was about basically just patriotism and American duty. And
Really?
Yeah.
There's a book about that? I mean, there's plenty of books, but I'm just saying, like, it's just interesting how. Yeah.
Exactly.
We'll talk
So.
about it on a book.
Yeah. Anyway, he writes his book. It kind of puts him on the map a little bit. I believe it was a national bestseller, and then he runs for Congress, and his dad pours money into his congressional campaign.
Right, but I thought did he not? I thought he didn't want to run. Like, I thought he wasn't really a politician kind of guy.
Yeah, he wasn't really. I think a lot of that changed during his service in World War II. He was basically a war hero. He was in charge of a PT boat. The first one was PT 58, I believe, and then the second one was PT 109. And PT 109 is the one that made him famous. He was essentially cruising at night, looking for Japanese ships in the South Pacific, and found a Japanese destroyer, and was turning to go and face the Japanese destroyer, but another ship was coming that he didn't see and split his boat right in half. And 2 of his crew members died, and he basically was treading water out in the middle of the ocean, and he said, "Look, men, we have 2 choices. I know a lot of you have families to go home to. You can either surrender now, we can most likely return home by the war's end in a few years, safe, or we can fight and try and stay alive." And all of the men voted to fight and stay alive. So they swam to the nearest island, which was 3.5 miles away, in the middle of the night, in the South Pacific. And Kennedy had one crew member who was severely burned, 3rd-degree burns all throughout because of the burning diesel fuel. And he put this sailor in a life jacket and then towed him with his teeth for 3.5 miles with a bad back. He grew up with a bad back.
Yeah, he had chronic back pain.
Yeah,
and like he had
for his whole life.
Addison's disease or something.
Addison's disease, autoimmune disease.
Oh my god!
And then he most likely had Crohn's disease. He actually went home for a couple of semesters because he had such bad, like IBS. So,
yeah. 3.5 miles.
Yeah, he did it twice. He did it to one island from the wreckage, and then from one island to another island to survive, because the one island that they landed on initially was completely deserted.
Now you'll do a lot when you're trying to survive, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's crazy.
When you're trying to get your whole crew back home, you got 10 people plus relying on you.
I can't swim like at all. So.
Yeah, I mean, even if you can swim, 1 mile is a lot, let alone 3.5. It's exhausting, like literally. Yeah. It's hard to imagine. So his character grows exponentially from his service in World War II, and decided that journalism just probably wasn't enough for him.
Yeah,
and his dad also was super pressuring him into politics. His dad actually said, "With all the money I poured into this congressional campaign, I could have had my chauffeur elected to Congress." So
yeah,
it was like, JFK was super green throughout his career and everything he did. He was just kind of thrust into it.
Yeah,
because he was so charismatic. And
I mean, but then the cool thing is, like, once he got in there, he donated his money. He donated his salary.
Yeah.
Similar
he
to
came from an
extremely
it came from an extremely wealthy family. A lot of there's quite a few presidents that donated their salary.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
But even in Congress, like as a congressman, he did it. Like,
I'm sure. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
tons
crazy,
of congressmen probably donate their salary.
It's good to know, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stands for
It's
his
a
character.
nice-
And was
nice
he was a
gesture.
Democrat or?
Yes, JFK was a Democrat.
That's just so weird, man. How has that
Massachusetts.
changed? You know,
Yeah,
like
right.
we can have a Democrat run and like be a really good president.
Yeah, he was a pretty fiscally responsible Democrat. He wanted to balance the budget. He he was pretty conservative as far as spending goes. Didn't believe that the government should be handing out a lot of things. Wouldn't.
Then how is he a Democrat?
Was just different back then.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's so weird. Like back then, it's like what 40 years.
And I wouldn't say that the
Sorry.
parties. I wouldn't say that the
60
parties
years?
swapped. I would say that Democrats, in general, at least the traditional Democrat, the new Democrat is totally different. Been swept up in socialism, but the traditional Democrat is one that essentially believes that there are more constitutionally guaranteed rights than we have, essentially. Like the right to health care, the right to housing, the right to a guaranteed income is a new one for this generation of Democrat. And those rights, they're not explicit in the Constitution, and they're not implied anywhere, really.
It's not a right at all.
No, it's
But yeah, I
it's a
get it.
privilege. So,
Yeah, it's definitely a privilege.
um,
Wow. Okay.
so
So now he's in Congress. He's running. What is his like brothers and does he have a sister at all?
yeah, he has one sister that was mentally handicapped and lobotomized, interestingly enough, and I think he had one other sister that was also younger that didn't really do a whole lot. I think she became an academic. Not entirely sure. And then Robert Kennedy became his attorney. He was an attorney who practiced law, and then he became his attorney general while JFK was in office. And then Ted Kennedy ran for JFK's Senate seat, I believe, and won, and was a senator from like the 70s, the early 70s or late 60s even, until 2004 or 5, 6,
Holy
something
crap.
in there. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, super long time, like 35 years, at least 40 years.
Okay.
So anyway, that's the Kennedy clan.
Yeah.
And then, of course, JFK Jr. Died in a plane crash. It's all part of that quote-unquote Kennedy curse.
Yeah. Kennedy curse, man. I don't get that. You know?
Yeah,
I
if
don't
your
really
last name is Kennedy and you have a bloodline that traces back to Joe Kennedy, you're probably cursed. I mean, Joe Jr. shot down in World War II, JFK assassinated, RFK assassinated, Ted Kennedy basically killed somebody and then got away with it, so I don't know. Tell me you know about the Ted Kennedy.
Nah, dude. I don't
Joe
know about
Campeche.
anything. Like his whole family is like a mystery to me.
Whoa. So Ted Kennedy is at this party with his staff celebrating I think it was his successful Senate victory. It's like a campaign victory party, essentially, I believe. And was driving a lady home, one of his, I think it was an intern at the time, named Mary Jo Campeche, and he was driving her home, and he was super drunk, and then drove his car off a bridge in Massachusetts, and got out of the car, and she died. She drowned in the car. So he drove a car off a bridge and then got out. He got out,
Wow.
and it was in shallow water, like
What?
like 5 feet. Like
What?
really shallow, like just enough to bury the car. And then he got out.
So it was considered a murder?
No, he got away with it completely.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah. He served in the Senate for years and decades and decades.
Isn't that It boggles my mind, and you know that still happens. Like things like that still happen.
Dude.
All of our Senate,
Yeah.
all of our Congress, like what kind of snakes do we have in there, you know?
Yeah. It's gross.
Yeah.
But so yeah, JFK, it's interesting. I think a lot of people saw him as too green for the presidency, and they were probably correct. I think if JFK had been a vice president, he would later have been a very good president. If he was
Yeah.
vice president for 4 or 8 years, he would have been an amazing president. That's funny because the opposite. Well, I guess you could say the same about Nixon. Nixon, if he wasn't so corrupt and paranoid, he would have been such an amazing president. He accomplished so much, and he did a lot of good things at the time, but he should have put expiration stamps on a lot of stuff, like the Chinese trade deals
Yeah.
and getting off the gold standard and that sort of stuff.
Right.
That should have had expiration dates that Congress had to renew. But
Sucks they didn't do that.
but he did a lot of good
They
things.
don't put a
for
lot of
sure.
expiration dates on a lot of things, it seems like.
No, especially today. It's like indefinite spending.
Yeah,
but,
no matter what.
But anyway, JFK gets into office and he's extremely green and
Yeah, so he's still a good president though, right? Like,
mixed results for
no?
sure.
Okay, so
yeah.
he wasn't really that good. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I was
it's
just-
mixed. He did a
when I
lot of
think
good
about
things
it-
and he did a lot of things that were just blunders. Just what are you thinking type of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and like when I think about it, I think he was a Democrat and it still worked out okay. So I guess in my head I'm thinking, wow, that's awesome. As if Democrats can't run and be good presidents, you know what I mean?
Well,
But I guess,
in my opinion,
you know, it really doesn't
Democrats
matter.
have always failed, at least in the 20th century. Like I can't think of a single Democrat that actually had, maybe Truman, that actually had a good foreign policy. Like, wow, that's a good foreign policy.
Yeah.
Every single Democrat, from freaking Woodrow Wilson to even the 21st century Barack Obama, dismally bad foreign policy. With maybe the exception of Truman and maybe the exception of FDR because of World War II. But at the same time, he got us drug into World War II as well. Well, I mean, it was inevitable, but
Yeah.
he made sure that it happened by cutting off Japanese oil supplies and whatnot.
Well, we can talk about too, like the fact that little toasty fact: JFK almost died 3 times specifically, and had a Catholic priest come in and
Yeah, he had his
anoint
last
him or
rites.
whatever.
Yeah, he
He
had
had
his
his
last
last
rites given to him. Yeah, multiple times.
that's crazy,
Yeah.
dude. So they really thought he was gonna die, and they're like, "Oh, come on, bring him in."
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy,
And
man.
he was on
And then you
such-
live. How is that a curse? How is that a curse? You know?
I
Like,
mean, he
made it.
He was in serious pain his whole life.
That's insane, man.
It's like serious, like debilitating. He wore back brace all the time. He took like a cocktail of all sorts of injections several
Oh, my
times a day.
gosh.
Oh yeah, he was on amphetamines all day, and
That's
he was
insane.
also on codeine all day.
How do you not go insane from that?
Mm-hmm.
He still was able to be a president.
I mean,
People
you
these
can
days would
understand.
be like, ugh, you know,
Yeah, you can understand
high functioning freaking antibiotic,
narcotics,
narcotic
and,
freaking,
yeah,
that's crazy. Man.
barbiturates over here, all of it. I mean, he wouldn't have lived past probably mid-50s to 60 anyway,
Yeah.
which is sad to say. But I mean, his heart would have failed, his
Okay,
liver would
so-
have failed, his kidneys, like they were all going down by the time he was assassinated.
What are some things he did during his presidency that like we still deal with today? Like something he put in. Did he put in anything into place that's big?
The Peace Corps.
The Peace Corps. He
Mhm.
did that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He did the Peace Corps. He did. Trying to think of like a
I think
really
the Peace
last
Corps
thing.
is kind of like
I'm not sure if
gone out of
NASA.
style at this
I'm not
point.
sure if NASA was actually created under JFK or if LBJ created.
He was
NASA.
part of like the big freaking space race and all that.
He pushed
But-
for advances in space and,
Yeah.
and basically STEM, science, technology, engineering,
Right.
and math. That was his big push.
Yeah.
He said like, look, we've got all these German rocket scientists. Like, we need to put them to use. Like, we need to
But I also thought-
because look at honestly look at what's going to happen to Japan and Germany. We've disarmed them. All they have now is their books.
Yeah.
And they're going to go nose deep into those books.
Right.
So we need to do the same. We can't just sit here and enjoy our television. Now it's too late. Now we've sat and enjoyed our televisions too much. And
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things he also did, I guess, he had secret recordings,
working
or he
out.
had a recorder basically in the Oval Office,
Mhm.
which I thought every president did that, but I guess not.
not really.
He did it himself.
Yeah.
And so,
It was for his memoirs, quote
right,
unquote.
his memoirs, right? And I
Yeah.
think one of the things they caught was him saying that, why do we need to go against Russia in the space race? He was talking about the space race, right?
Mhm.
And he's like, why can't we just, do it together, because it's like a waste of resources for both of us to do the exact same thing.
Absolutely.
And he said that, and I was like, oh, that's cool. It's cool. He said he like acknowledged that. You
Yeah.
know? So I guess foreign policy was decent as far as that goes. I don't know, but compared to the others, I guess.
Speaking of foreign policy, I'm going to go into why a couple of backgrounds as to why the CIA would be so mad at the past and so mad at like what he did or didn't do.
Yeah, where's the motive?
Exactly.
That's
So
really what we need to get into.
there's two motives for the CIA. One is they're really pissed about Bay of Pigs and they viewed him as weak on communism in general. And two, kind of going hand in hand with weak on communism, is that going forward, JFK was not real big on going to war. He had served in World War II. He had seen his soldier get third-degree burns. He knew how bad war was. It did a physical toll on him, a mental toll on him, and he lost men in World War II.
Yeah, this guy's strung out on narcotics. So.
Yeah, exactly. And so he's not looking forward to going into other countries because of the spread of communism. He doesn't see it as an American duty to stop the spread of communism.
Right.
Whereas in the Truman Doctrine, Truman was basically said, we have to stop the spread of communism and cannot go into any new countries because it was getting into the Koreas, it had already gotten into China, and it was getting into Vietnam. And so he was like, we got to stop it from spreading across the whole continent of Asia because we won't be able to recover if the communism has a whole continent. So that's what got us involved in the Korean War, and that's what got us involved in Vietnam. And Vietnam was really just kind of ramping up by the time Kennedy took over. The Viet Cong army was really starting to invade these different territories, and then by the late 50s, France was in Vietnam because of the Truman Doctrine, saying we agree with America, we have to stop the foreign invasion of communism, no matter what country or what hemisphere it's on. So France goes in and invades Vietnam, and we're like, we're France's ally. They're the longest. The United States' longest standing foreign ally is France.
Yeah.
They helped us win the revolution. And France needs our help. We go over there, we help them. We give them military support first, just supplies. And then eventually, I think by the Kennedy administration, there were boots on the ground. There were American boots, probably less than 10,000. And then, of course, Kennedy's like, we can't really, we've got to pull back on Vietnam. It's not a winnable solution. It's their turf. It's a domestic issue, and we can't involve ourselves in it.
Right.
And we can't waste good men on Vietnam, right?
Yeah.
It's a tiny Southeast Asia country that has no economy right now.
Right.
And so JFK is trying to wind down Vietnam. The CIA and the intelligence kind of bureaucracy and the military industrial complex are all like gung-ho, we got to go into Vietnam. Even LBJ, who's...
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Trump and trying to get troops out of Iran and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like it
It's the
reminds
same
me of him
thing.
trying to kill the industrial complex.
They can't kill... Exactly, that's what he's doing. He's putting his foot in the revolving door of big tech, industrial revolution, and military industrial complex all revolving into and out of government via lobbyists. He put his fucking foot right in the middle of that. And that's why
everyone hated him.
That's why everyone hates him.
That's why I was surprised that he didn't do the same thing didn't happen to him.
I mean, it is. They're politically assassinating him.
Right.
You know, they can't kill him. You know, that'd be too obvious at this point. That's old school. Now it's just
crazy,
now
dude.
it's just keep him from running again, keep him from winning, whatever the cost.
So that was the main reason you think that the CIA had motive, right?
I think yeah. So
basically boils down to the military-industrial complex.
Yeah, Eisenhower warned us about it, and JFK took that warning very seriously. So the Bay of Pigs invasion, Eisenhower approves this invasion in March of 1960. So just before the election. So March and then November is the election when Kennedy is elected over Nixon, his vice president. So the plan was developed by the CIA and Richard Nixon, and Eisenhower authorized $13.1 million, which is obviously a lot of money in 1960 even.
Yeah.
Especially. So it's basically Kennedy versus Fidel and Che Guevara and Raul Castro, and we invade, but it's just a huge, like, dismal failure. Kennedy withdraws air support. None of our planes are marked. We went in with, I think, 1,500 soldiers. All of them are captured or killed, and it's mostly Cuban exiles and Cuban people that want to revolt against the Castro regime, and they go in and they fail. Everyone's captured or killed. We lost 2 of 8 B-26 bombers. We lost 2 of 5 supply ships, and it was a huge just slap in the face to Kennedy's presidency. I mean, it was worse than it was a punch in the face.
And that was like at the beginning.
It was very beginning. I mean, there was a plan developed by the CIA and Nixon, because Eisenhower basically made Nixon like special envoy from the White House to the CIA to kind of develop this plan, this invasion of Cuba.
Dang.
And it failed. And a lot of people blamed Kennedy for it. And I mean, it's not unjustifiable to blame him. He basically didn't want to do it and half-assed it, and it failed. That's what happens. Like, you either got to fully commit or you got to completely withdraw. And he just
kind of went in the middle there.
Went in the middle
That sucks,
and was
man.
like, yeah.
Because he got thrown in. You know, it was like one of those things where you
Wasn't
got
his
thrown
idea.
in. And
It was
you're
like
wait,
it was like the
what?
Manhattan Project and Truman. Like, Truman comes into the presidency not knowing anything about the Manhattan Project, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, by the way, we've developed the most powerful weapon known to man. That's literally 1,000 times more powerful than the most powerful bomb
Now
you've
have to
ever
choose
seen.
if you want to use it or not.
Yeah,
That's
you
what I'm saying.
have 2 months to choose whether you want to use this or not.
That's the CIA for you.
Yeah,
Freaking, they do that on purpose. If you're saying it happened to Truman and it happened to JFK, you know, what's to say it doesn't happen to every single freaking president we have?
That's why they
Just
don't
to
really
show them who's
a lot
who's
of times
boss,
like
you know?
really a lot of people will say, and I hear a lot of people say this, like, presidency doesn't affect you, like, they don't care who the president is, it's all just kind of the same.
No, they
over and
care a
over.
lot. So much so that they want to control it.
It depends.
You know?
Like, they have look at who they have now over look at who they just got rid of.
Well, I know, but they
One's
control it.
controllable, one's not. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly why they didn't. That's what I'm saying. It's crazy.
Kennedy
to me,
was not
dude.
controllable. Eisenhower was before really. It was like he saw the problem coming. It was like because before Eisenhower, the intelligence apparatus and bureaucracy it wasn't what it was. It didn't really exist. It was really during Eisenhower's presidency that became so developed, and Eisenhower was like, whoa, this is getting out of hand. And that's when he, in his farewell address, warned us about the military-industrial complex.
What I want to know is why it would matter. You said it would hurt CIA still, if they came out with it, but why would it matter now?
Because they're doing the same. They're doing the same
They're
thing.
Just keep, okay,
It's all their dirty tricks.
Well, I know,
And
but we know about bad stuff they've already done, like the Mockingbird Project and
MK Ultra.
MK Ultra, like we know about that stuff. You
Yeah,
know?
but that's child's play compared to what they're
That's
really doing.
Crazy that's
Like,
child's
ooh, mind
play.
control, neat, cool, whatever. That's a comic book. Who cares? This is actual control. This is actual
World power,
world
basically.
dominance and
CIA's
power.
freaking world power.
Yeah. The head of the CIA might be the most powerful person on the planet.
And
Gina Haspel.
Who is it now? It's someone different, right? Isn't Biden putting someone different in?
I don't know.
There was
Maybe
a picture
not.
of some guy. and
Better
he was
choose
like,
carefully.
Golly, dude.
Yeah.
It's insane, dude.
Yeah. Gina Haspel totally betrayed Trump.
So do you believe
Completely.
that John's son, does he have a son?
Who?
John F. Kennedy? He has a son, right?
Yeah, JFK Jr. died in a plane
Yeah.
crash.
Yeah. Do you
Mysterious
Do you
circumstances.
believe he's still alive?
No.
You don't?
I don't think so. Why would he kill himself?
Mysterious circumstance.
He had a
of
bright
course.
future ahead of him.
He wouldn't kill himself at all. I'm saying maybe he's still alive and like, oh, why would he actually fake it?
Yeah, why would he fake his death?
Or maybe they thought he was dead and he got away somehow. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, I mean, plane crash is a plane crash. You get on that plane, it comes down, you're not walking away alive. Especially if it crashes in the middle of the ocean.
Isn't it the opposite? Isn't the ocean better? Isn't water better?
Yeah, but not in a Cessna.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Disintegrate
And he was like, it was a
And
mysterious
they
plane.
sink
but
fast.
What was the mystery
Big
behind
planes,
it?
the Boeings like will float for a while
Yeah.
if the pilots can land it.
Right.
It's a big if.
That's true.
If you lose hydraulics, you're
So the
boned.
Cessna crashed. Was he driving it? Was he flying it?
Flying it, piloting. I believe so. Yes.
Driving.
He's driving that plane up in the air. Take a left at this cloud.
In the, like a cartoon in the air. Like anyway, whatever.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Wow. So funny how. Wow, dude, that's crazy. Yeah. So Harvey Oswald, he was a perfect guy.
Perfect, Patsy.
And I read into it a little bit. He's unstable.
Yeah.
He was being watched by the CIA probably for this purpose anyway.
And FBI.
And FBI, yeah. He was a terrible shot.
He was
And
a
that's
terrible
what I don't
shot
understand.
while he was in the army. Now, my thing is, he may have gotten a lot better after his attempted assassination attempt. After his assassination attempt on
The
General Walker, he
Walker, Texas Ranger. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Walker always reminds me. Every time anyone says Walker, I just think of Walker, Texas Ranger.
I'm gonna name my kid Walker.
You are?
No.
I'm just kidding. Dude, that means
Walker
you're a
is
badass.
kind of a cool name,
You're
though, I
already a
will say.
badass if you come out of the womb and you're like, I'm Walker. Texas Ranger.
I would literally be like, "Here's your badge."
Heck yeah, dude.
Right out of the
freaking star.
badge. Anyway, so after that failed assassination attempt, he missed, and he was like, I never want to miss again. I could see that. I could see him being like, you know what? I never want to miss again.
And then it's like Rocky's theme song.
And he's just like shooting his Carcano.
Freaking cans. Pew, 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 with a BB gun. Pew, pew, that's the view you get. And you're like, wow, yeah, you're going to be great someday. I don't know, man.
Yikes.
I guess he could have. So what's against that? What's the argument against that then? The fact that he could have been a good shot. Because I believe it was a setup. But what's the argument against him being a good shot or getting good at it? What else is wrong with his life?
What if? No, my thing is, what if he never even attempted to assassinate that general? It's only according to the Warren Commission that.
Oh.
Yeah.
It never was reported or anything.
And if you believe anything about my theory on, we've been saying a lot of facts about like JFK and his presidency and his life, but my theory is just a theory. Okay, I don't have any I have a lot of circumstantial evidence to back it up, and no physical proof other than confessions on tape.
The voter fraud happened, but we have circumstantial evidence.
Exactly. So, oh yeah, I lost my train of thought. Totally.
You did? No, you don't have any. You don't have any actual evidence. But with the CIA thing, the reason that you really think it's real.
So, if you believe any of that, which I do, then you cannot believe they're mutually excludable.
Oh, so you can't believe he became a good shot.
Well, you can't believe anything the Warren Commission says.
Oh, okay, got you.
You cannot believe that just off the bat. He may have or he may not have. I don't even know if there's real proof that he attempted to assassinate the general.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing is
they've got his wife testifying against him, which they can get to her. They can be like, "We're going to deport you back to Russia, and you're going to be in Russian prison for the rest of your life."
Or give her money. Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah, or give her a ton of money, and move her to Arizona, which is what they did.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So I don't know that exactly, but I'm 90% certain they gave her a bunch of money and said, "Go live somewhere
if you
in
disappear,
the Southwest,
then you'll be good."
Yeah, and keep a low profile, and we will not deport you. And testify against your husband who's already dead, and you'll be fine. Which they had already had troubles in their marriage to begin with. I think that's been documented by her diary.
Wow.
So, but going back on that, it's only according to the Warren Commission that he assassinated or attempted to assassinate General Walker.
Right.
Now, if we're to believe the ballistics of the Warren Commission, it's only that gun that was used. That Carcano rifle, that Italian rifle that he ordered from a magazine under a different name.
Yeah.
So a guy named Lee Oswald got a P.O. box. I'm saying someone who said that they were Lee Harvey Oswald or Lee Oswald got a P.O. box with some random name. and ordered, I think I might even have it, and ordered this Carcano rifle through the mail. They never went in person, so they couldn't identify who it really was. There was no like photo ID. So, well, I don't have it, but
that's crazy that happened. Though.
Oh, here it is.
Really? Yeah, dude. How do you read that?
So yeah, it couldn't be properly cited in the Carcano could not be properly cited, and according to the FBI in November of 1963, that said that there was a significant scrape on the scope from either Oswald dropping the gun in haste after he had assassinated Kennedy, but they said that they could never sight in the rifle again after that use.
Really?
Yeah. So, and
what the heck, dude?
there was an eyewitness that saw Lee Harvey Oswald bring in curtain rods in a box that day, which could have been the rifle, and put it upstairs, which was under construction at the time.
There was an eyewitness.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the eyewitness?
One of the people that worked at the book depository.
Dude.
Only one.
Look, dude. If there's
There was another eyewitness that saw Lee Harvey Oswald calmly drinking a Coke on I believe it was the second or third floor of the book depository, less than like 30 seconds after the shots had rang out. He was just finishing his lunch when the assassination happened.
Oh.
That's what I think.
Why was he there?
He worked there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
That's
dude
a fact
worked
we
there.
Didn't know that.
Then the thing is,
yeah.
if it was Lee Harvey Oswald, so okay, we don't even know if it was actually him that got the rifle delivered to him. It was a guy named Lee Oswald that rented this PO box under a false name to get the rifle delivered. It's like, why not use a false name to use the false name? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
If you're gonna get a false PO box, why would you use your real name?
Yeah.
Unless they require an ID to open a PO box, which I don't know. In the early '60s, they may not have, or they may have.
I doubt it, honestly, but maybe.
Yeah.
It just seems like
A
that
paper
probably
ID
wouldn't,
probably would
you
have
know?
done, which the FBI could forge. They could forge a photo ID.
They
if
could
they
do whatever
need
they
to.
wanted.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying is like
Or the
that's
CIA.
there's a lot of things there that could obviously
So much
be,
plausible deniability.
yeah. That's what FBI is all about.
Mhm.
That's their whole freaking goal. Plausible deniability.
Yep.
And you know what's
and the CIA for sure.
Oh yeah, and you know what's funny is I was here listening to an interview with, you know, the guy, the Wolf of Wall Street guy in real life.
Mhm.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I don't know.
He does a podcast.
No way.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, everyone that has any like clout out here has a podcast.
Uh-huh.
So not us apparently. Anyway, so he interviewed an FBI agent that was involved with that whole thing. No. Closely related or knew about it or something like that, and worked in the FBI around the time and after of that time. And that's what he said. He's like, look, dude, we're all about plausible deniability. So I can't really say what happened, if it did or not. He didn't know. He said, I really actually don't know because I wasn't a part of this whole thing if it was a thing, right? He's like, but I do know they were watching him, and I do know there's a lot of stuff surrounding it. He's like, but it's all about plausible deniability. And I'm like, oh, crap. And then the Wolf of Wall Street guy, of course, was like, oh, so that means you did it. That means you did it. he's a funny guy. Like he's the same guy that he is in Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
In the podcast, he's literally
That's
the
pretty
same
cool.
guy.
We're gonna have to have him as our next guest, I think.
That would be dope if he would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Leonardo
might.
DiCaprio, like he plays a perfect.
He nailed it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I feel we're trying to have him on the show, and I can't even remember his damn name. So sorry, dude. Anyway, man.
Let's just call him Leo.
Toasty. Hey guys, you may have noticed that I cut this video off short, and that's because it's only for Patreons to get the full
We're just about to
episode.
get to the juicy part too.
Yes, and that is where we begin. So if you want the full episode, please head on over to patreon.com/toastypodcast and sign up. All you have to do is donate $3 a month. But if you want more, donate $5 a month. And then we'll even do giveaways, and that's coming up probably in a few months once I have enough patrons to actually do it. You'll get merch, you know,
T-shirts,
some freaking
sweatshirts.
toasty swag, and I'm
Yeah.
down for that. So
Flip-flops,
Anyway.
hats,
Heck yeah, dude. Flip flops.
boat
Want
anchors,
to do flip? What? Okay, we gotta stop.
life vests.
Too much. Too much merch. I can't afford it.
Motorcycle helmets.
Yeah, if you know, guys, I use my day job and my day gigs to fund this podcast. So if you want a good podcast, it's got to be the only thing I do. And that means I've got
Yeah.
to get somewhere where we actually get donations. So thanks for that.
We're getting a background, guys.
Can you tell the studio is
It's
actually getting bigger?
Actually better and bigger and cooler.
I know, I love it, dude.